Welcome to the show, guys. We've got some breaking news over Trump and Elon's historic change. They are wanting 100% accountability throughout the entire government. And what they have instituted is a weekly accountability email where they are asking all federal employees to label in 5 bullet points what did they accomplish in the last week. So far, since this email has gone out, there's already been thousands of people that have quit, which I can't even make this up. There's been a ton of people that have been complaining, a lot of people refusing to comply, and now this is going all the way again to the Supreme Court. Everybody is trying to fight Trump and Elon at the highest level, and it's taking it to the Supreme Court. We already know that this past week, the Supreme Court delayed Trump's efforts to fire a federal ethics watchdog. And again, this is just the first battle. There's already a lot of things on the docket where Trump and Elon are going to have to continue to fight to literally hold the federal government accountable. You cannot make this stuff up. It is obnoxious. It is downright wrong that the American people are underserved every single day. And people, whenever they are asked to be held accountable, literally are quitting, will not comply. It makes no sense. But regardless, there is a new good option that has happened. The Supreme Court on this last decision opted to hold Trump's appeal because Trump already appealed it. And so they're going to hold it till February the 26th. And then that's whenever it expires. And then they're going to see what the lower court says and then go at it again. So whatever's happening, guys, it is getting hairy. Trump and Elon are dealing with a lot at the front of the Supreme Court. On top of that, the breaking news also having to do with Ukraine. You cannot make this stuff up. Trump has told Ukraine that U.S. wants its money back. Zelensky said that it misplaced over $100 billion in aid, and after much digging and investigating, there is nowhere to be found $100 billion of taxpayer money that was sent to Ukraine. So Trump says we want our money back. Zelensky was playing Biden, and on top of that, Zelensky even came out and said, well, that $100 billion was a grant. It wasn't even a loan. So we're not going to give it back. Things are getting really heated in this fight with Ukraine, Russia, and now Trump. On top of that, guys, if you wanted some good news today, this is probably the biggest news out of all of it, guys. I can't believe I'm saying this, but The Readout, which is hosted by Joy Reid on MSNBC, has officially been canceled. So long, Joy. A lot of people, the ratings were down. A lot of people didn't like the show. So they've officially canceled Joy Reid. Guys, what a day. But we got a ton of breaking news to get into today. I want to say thank you to everybody that is watching, to all of our subscribers. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. And thank you to everybody that is a member of the channel. And thank you to everybody that gives a super chat donation. We're so grateful. Yesterday's video, we gave out over $1,500 to New Beginnings charity, and it's all because of you. And I did it live on stream, guys. And just want to remind everybody, we have launched a new YouTube channel, TrueLife Breaking News, that's going to be showing a lot of short form breaking content, guys. The link is in the description to go and subscribe there to help us grow that channel. And just want to say, if you don't mind clicking the thumbs up like button, we really appreciate all your support. We're going to get into this, guys. The whole thing with Zelensky, our money, the $100 billion, somebody has to answer for it. And things are getting nasty. Check this out.
But I want you to remember a little bit of history here. Zelensky could have saved the United States a lot of drama by immediately coming out and defending Donald Trump vigorously and loudly and uncovering for the American people what Joe Biden had been up to, because he knew it's his government. But he didn't. He didn't. So Donald Trump, I can almost guarantee you, who knows this, is very suspicious of Zelensky because of what he and some of the people in his government did to sweep under the rug the Joe Biden madness, which led to Donald Trump's impeachment. I'm going to serve you a little reminder here. This is a New York Post video, right? This is a hat tip New York Post. This is a recorded phone call between Joe Biden and Petro Poroshenko, who was the president of Ukraine before Zelensky, from 2014 to 2019. I want you to listen about how afraid Joe Biden is, how he's lobbying Poroshenko to basically make this thing go away, and he'll sign this $1 billion IMF aid package if Poroshenko makes it go away. Now you may say, well, this was Poroshenko, not Zelensky. Folks, Zelensky knows about all of this. You think he's unaware of what his government was up to with Joe Biden before? And I want you to listen to the part where Poroshenko says clearly, well, it's a little bit of an accent, but clearly, I mean, that he doesn't have any negative information, but he'll fire the people looking into this stuff anyway to protect Joe Biden. Zelensky knows this. It's going to lead to my next story about Zelensky in a second. So, but check this out first.
Assuming that there is a new government and a new prosecutor general, I am prepared to do a public signing of the commitment for the $1 billion.
And despite of the fact that we didn't have any corruption charges, we don't have any information about he doing something wrong, I especially asked him, no, it was the day before yesterday, I especially asked him to resign.
Congratulations on installing the new prosecutor general. It's going to be critical for him to work quickly to repair the damage Chutkan did. And I'm a man of my word. And that now that the new prosecutor general is in place, we're ready to move forward in signing that new $1 billion loan guarantee.
Folks, I know many of you, especially the P1s, have heard this before, but you can't hear this enough. Again, hat tip New York Post. Two things happen in this phone call. Biden, again, is celebrating that a prosecutor in Ukraine looking into Biden family corruption in conjunction with Ukrainian officials, that the official got fired. The president at the time, Poroshenko, clearly says, I specifically, or he says specially, I think he meant specifically. He says, I specially asked him to resign, even though I had no evidence of corruption. You just heard it. No one disputes the authenticity of the tape.
Guys, let me tell you this. Ukraine has been corrupt for a very long time. And when we send over hundreds of billions of dollars and they can't account for it, and we look at what's been happening under the Biden administration and what's happened in the past, like, this is what Trump wanted. He wanted everybody to see that Ukraine is pretty corrupt and that we should have never gotten behind them in the first place.
The famous son of a bee thing. Well, I had him fired. Son of a bee, I had him fired. The guy was looking into Biden's family, and they had him fired, despite no evidence of corruption. What does that have to do with today's story and what's got me all fired up this morning? You know, we don't cover a ton of foreign affairs on the show, but I'm telling you, man, this has me really pissed off. I've been writing about this forever. I'm telling you, the whole first chapter of my Follow the Money book is about the Ukrainian piggy bank, how people have been using this place for years, and Ukraine could clean it up if they would just clean up their own government, and they don't want to do it. Zelensky knows all of this. That is what Trump was talking about, and he didn't clear it up. This geopolitics thing is complicated. That's why this got me really riled up this morning. Daily Mail. This is from just this morning. Zelensky condemns Trump. Really? Hold on, leave that up there for a minute.
They don't want it uncovered,
Listen,
guys.
man. I'm sorry, but this guy has got to be one of the worst international negotiators I have ever seen. As you saw from the Truth Social post, Donald Trump, the United States government, President Biden before, the American people have been bankrolling a significant chunk of the Ukrainian defense effort. And you're condemning our president? We picked? Zelensky condemns.
Guys, just want to say thank you so much for all your support. Guys, you are so kind in the chat. If you don't mind clicking the thumbs up like button, we really appreciate all your support. Thank you so much.
Trump, Ukrainian leader, says the U.S. president is in a disinformation bubble. He's not in a disinformation bubble. You guys helped create it. The disinformation was he was impeached over a quid pro quo that never happened, and you knew about it. He's in a disinformation bubble, they say. Demanding $500 billion in minerals is not a serious conversation, and says Donald Trump has helped Putin. Really? How exactly has he helped Putin? He's giving you the Ukrainian government hundreds of billions of dollars. All he's asking is we're $30 trillion in debt. If we are going to help you stave off annihilation by the Russians with our money that we're already in debt, then there should be some path to making this whole. So I've got an idea. You guys have rare earth minerals in Ukraine that we need. It's in sensitive territory, by the way, that this is another, you're not really hearing this angle anywhere else. The rare earth minerals are in sensitive parts of Ukraine that the Russians are going to want. This deal this is I hate the term win-win because it's so stupid and juvenile, but this is a win-win-win-win-win. We get paid back for the massive amounts of money we're spending in Ukraine. We get rare earth minerals we need here desperately because China's getting ready to shut us down. And it's on land that the Russians could and want to take over. They're not going to take it over if they're our rare earth minerals because they know they'd be toying with us.
Boom.
So what does Zelensky do? He, quote, condemns Trump, and he's in a disinformation bubble. You know, I am not an anti-Ukrainian war effort guy. I got an open mind on all this. I only ask this, tell me how it benefits the United States. Make a compelling case. Give me an exit ramp about what our battle plan is and what it looks like when we win, and I'm open to hearing it.
Guys, let me tell you this. They're trying to walk back so many statements right now, and this is what Trump says. Trump says, pay back the billions of aid that we gave to you, Trump is telling Ukraine. We're done with this. I want you to see this, guys, out of Zelensky's mouth. This is literally, he's starting to act more like a Democrat every single day. Listen to this, because remember, when it's online and we got the recordings, it's forever.
If you can't give us some financial support, okay, please, give us a credit, and we will give you back money. Я знаю, що у нас було 100. І це факт. Я не збираюсь визнавати 500. Хто б що не говорив, як би ми не спілкувались. При всій повазі, ще раз, при всій повазі до партнерів, але, я стійко стою, тому що це правдива ситуація. Абсолютно ми праві. І друга ситуація, якщо чесно, навіть 100 мільярдів я не готовий фіксувати. Поясню чому. Тому що ми не маємо визнавати гранти як борги.
Y'all see that? We should not recognize grants as debt. When he literally said, look, give us this money. It'll be a loan. We'll pay you back. Guys, it's always back and forth. This is such hypocrisy. Now, especially when they should be paying back money that was sent by the United States in an effort to help them not be controlled over by Russia. And then now, no, we don't want to pay you back. Nope, not happening. Guys, it is literally mind-blowing to see this. And again, too, this is breaking news. I got to show you this. U.S. President, this is by Bricks News. Trump believes he can get a deal done this week with Russian President Putin to end the war in Ukraine. Guys, we are so close. It is mind-blowing how close it is. But this is the thing. While Trump's trying to fix things overseas, he is literally fighting the Supreme Court and judges here at home. Check this out.
To the second point, the uniformed services. They're all saying now he doesn't have the ability to recall Milley to active duty service and have Milley go under a uniform code of military justice, a tribunal for treason given his actions in 2020. One is the part, let's put the pardon aside for a second. We'll talk about that for Milley. But they're saying Trump can't even do that. You disagree with that?
Well, did Milley accept the pardon? And that's the question.
Well, first off, the question I have is when Trump gave pardons, the Justice Department, because he wasn't cute about it, they executed on those pardons. It is Pam Bondi's Justice Department under Trump that has to execute the pardons. Isn't that Tom Fitton and I said that's an open question, is it not, sir?
I think we should test it. Why not?
Okay, good. Does he have the rights? If it's not pardon, does he have the rights to recall Milley to active duty and have him tried in a military tribunal.
If there's no pardon, there's no question, that he can't be. He's a general officer. You're always a general officer when you're confirmed by the Senate as a general officer,
yes.
right? And so remember what Milley did. This is important. I wrote a Federalist piece on this. Milley told his Chinese counterparts that Milley would give his Chinese counterpart a heads up before President Trump launched a preemptive attack on China. That is very valuable information to our enemies, and it puts American soldiers and sailors and airmen in grave danger if our enemies know we're coming. So if that's not treason, I don't know what is treason.
I agree with you 1,000%.
Treason.
Okay, so we're going to the third, the chief magistrate and chief law enforcement officer. Since Nixon, and since the coup on Nixon, and the coup on Nixon the CIA was involved for information. Woodward and Bernstein were involved. The FBI and Mark Felt were involved. But it was essentially Judge Sirica, the House lawyers up there on the impeachment committee, the Justice Department. They worked together. This was a legal coup just like President Trump. And since that time, they've hermetically sealed off DOJ. DOJ is its own separate island. And remember, when we first got there, it says nobody can even talk to him. In fact, the White House counsel can't talk to Sessions. You can't have any communication. Is this now settling in that he is the chief magistrate and the chief law enforcement officer, not the attorney general? The attorney general reports to the president of the United States?
That's exactly right. The American people elect a president of the United States who oversees the entire executive branch, including the Justice Department, and the FBI is part of the Justice Department.
Ladies and gentlemen, of anything we're talking about on this show, anything, even money, this topic drives this city crazy because the whole city's lawyers, right? This city's run by the big law firms and they're going back and forth. Everybody's got lawyers everywhere, general counsels, but every staff is full of lawyers. This is what drives them nuts because they've kind of been driving the deal here, right? The president really doesn't have any rhythm because everything's lawyers, etc. This thing right here, knowing that Donald Trump is the chief magistrate and the chief law enforcement officer and will use that power, actually, these people, they lose it.
Yeah, I mean, remember, as they said to us, it's not possible that Joe Biden politicized and weaponized the Justice Department because we have checks on that. We have grand juries who have to bring indictments, and we have federal judges who oversee these cases, and then we have juries who decide innocence or guilt. So they had no problem when Joe Biden and his White House politicized and weaponized every level of justice in our country, at the federal level, the state level, the local level. So they told us for 4 years it wasn't possible for the president to politicize and weaponize the justice system. I would say this President Trump has said he is not going to do that. He's going to have his attorney general and his FBI director have autonomy to make their own decisions. But the president of the United States, any president of the United States, has the absolute constitutional power under Article 2 to bring indictments if he wants to.
If Tom Fitton wanted me to bounce this one off you, he was on a week or so ago, and he says a special prosecutor ought to be named for all these things to really get into because the DOJ's got to do its own business, but it's got to be done aside. He believes that special prosecutor should not be announced by Pam Bondi or the attorney general, that should be announced by the White House, and the special prosecutor should report to the chief magistrate. Is that too much? Do you agree with that?
I would love it. And Joe Genova, or who would we pick to do this?
Original gangster savage.
Just a savage. Another political serial killer.
Another Joe DeGenova in Victoria. If we throw them both in there, that'd be amazing.
Yes.
Guys, let me tell you this. Again, it's fighting on every front. I wanted to show you this breaking news, guys, because they're trying to spot fraud. Elon Musk, and Donald Trump are really trying to clean up as much as possible. And when it comes to people that work in the government but don't actually do anything, it's getting real. Musk says that federal workers email, so they sent an email and said, just tell us in 5 bullet points, what did you do last week? People have been quitting. People are filing like harassment. Like, you cannot make this stuff up. But Musk said the federal worker email was meant to spot outright fraud. If you can't name a single thing that you did and that can be held accountable, then are you even working? Or are you just collecting a paycheck on the taxpayer's dime? This is a copy of the email, everybody. Bring the receipts. Simple. From HR. Please reply to this email with approximately 5 bullet points of what you accomplished last week and CC your manager. It's getting insane, guys, and you will not believe what you're going to see next. And just want to say thank you so much for your support. If you don't mind clicking the thumbs up like button, guys, thank you so much for your support on this channel. And don't forget, in the description, we got the link to our new channel that we're going to be showing a lot of short form content. We want to get more content out to you guys. Thank you so much for your support. If you want to jump over there and subscribe. But listen to this, guys, because, again, they're losing it right now. Watch this.
This week, 14 attorneys general lost in court to prevent President Trump's evaluation of agencies for reorganization, downsizing, and elimination of waste, fraud, and abuse. They were all Democrats who argued, as Judge Chutkan noted, without any evidence of harm, that President Trump couldn't even make the reforms that don't require congressional authorization. Why would they do that? Well, for one, Democrats' last remaining reliable constituency are the public employees unions, who are bankrupting this country, who fill their campaign coffers and attend their rallies and wear their T-shirts. These public employees, mind you, make on average more, and a lot more in some cases, than private sector workers. They have greater protections and better benefits. Many of them are practically immune from accountability. They have jobs and Cadillac benefits for life. That's the reason why Chuck Schumer in his reading glasses, Pocahontas, AOC, and others are screaming and yelling outside of government buildings and threatening violence in the streets.
Your fight, my fight, our fight, and we will win this fight.
Hold your face up so they can see you. Department of Education, get a good copy of him.
We will win. We will win. We will win.
It has nothing to do with protecting your money, of course, and everything to do with protecting their most favored constituency. The other reason Democrats at the state level in particular are hyperventilating is that they're afraid that the gravy train is going to stop. That's the gravy train that you and I pay for. Many of these are states with the worst economies, the most public debt, and the most bloated budgets with the most generous welfare programs. Many of them are also sanctuary jurisdictions for illegals. Of course, there's no evidence that their funding is going to totally get cut or money wouldn't be repatriated to their states. A lot of it actually should. They just want the easiest flow of money to pay for things that their state legislatures are unprepared to handle. They want full-on central planning. Cutting the size of the federal government is a states' rights issue, after all. It's about restoring federalism.
Yes.
The federal government, and therefore the federal taxpayer, was never meant to be a crutch for states who didn't adequately prepare for their own expenditures. Remember, we didn't have a formal national income tax until the ratification of the 16th Amendment in 1913. It's time we got back to a strict constitutional approach to spending and taxation.
Yes.
A strict interpretation of the necessary and proper clause of the Constitution, as Alexander Hamilton had argued. What Republicans are attempting to do is to ensure that by some measure at least, we adhere to that standard again. It will be difficult to do, and it will take time. The federal government should be diminished, and states should not be forced to participate in some kind of Hunger Games for money tied to Washington's regulatory strings. It gives the federal government far too much power. Our founders explicitly cautioned against a potentially despotic central government. All of this spending is not a new phenomenon, of course. The growth of federal power has sapped state resources and the public for more than a century now. The expansion of federal spending in the last 50 years since the failed Great Society programs has brought the nation to the brink of insolvency. More money means more programs. More programs means more people to administer them. It also means less transparency and accountability. It's a vicious cycle, and I can tell you from firsthand experience when I was in the federal government that it's become a jobs program administered by union bosses who protect their workers at all costs.
Hey, can we go ahead and just get one of those stacks for each of us here on TrueLife News? Guys, I'm telling you what, I think that would be a pretty nice thing. That's what Trump and Elon are trying to do, give us $5,000 checks, right?
To the American people. But here's a little dirty secret. They're not entitled to a government job. There's no right to employment, let alone government employment. You don't have a right to taxpayer-funded work. And in case you haven't heard, we have a budget deficit and massive, mounting national debt. It's going to require that cuts be made. The hysterical reaction by Democrats in the media is our entitlement to society on full display. It is that entitlement that has made the nation weaker and allowed it to creep toward both socialism and Gomorrah. No one is entitled to a job, period. If your dream job was being a part of, being a national park ranger or something, and you got laid off because of Trump, well, that's the breaks.
The idea that this is all being done because of efficiency is kind of crazy to me. It was sad. I definitely felt lied to.
If you worked in some shadowy program in the bowels of an agency that has never demonstrated positive return for the people of this country, you need to go. And look, folks, if you're that capable, you'll find other work.
Right.
And for all of the folks attracted to headlines about resignations and layoffs like moth to a flame over the last month, this is very simple. Let me break it down for you. The President of the United States runs the executive branch. He administers the laws made by Congress through the executive branch agencies. Anybody appointed by the President serves at his pleasure. If he wants to fire that person, he is legally entitled to do so. It happens all the time. U.S. attorneys, for instance, all serve at the pleasure of the president. They are routinely replaced by a new administration. There are about 4,000 presidential appointees that serve in the government. And as for the rest of the nearly 2 million civilians who work for the federal government and the additional contractors, those who are not statutorily necessary should be evaluated for elimination.
Guys, let me tell you this. It is just Christmas to those that have seen just such fraud, waste, and abuse. Donald Trump is such a troll, guys. This is hilarious. We've all heard of SpongeBob, all the little kids show. Donald Trump posted this, got done last week, cried about, this is a liberal, this is what the liberals are saying. Got done last week, cried about Trump, cried about Elon, made it into the office for once, read some emails, cried about Trump and Elon some more. Like, he is totally trolling every person that feels like it is the worst thing in the world to actually go into the office. And can you believe it? How much they have broken the literally liberal mindset of the federal government with this one email, guys. All they said was, please reply to this email with approximately 5 bullet points of what you accomplished last week. CC your manager, and we'll go from there. And everybody is losing it, guys. And we've got some insight because a lot of what's happening, guys, you got to get the top dogs in here. Check this out.
This issue, there's a lot there. Yeah. So, let's start here. Let's start on Doge because here's part of what is going on with Elon Musk. The Washington Post says these mass firings are backfiring because they say dismissals have been so chaotic and rushed. Termination letters often listed wrong start dates, wrong jobs, or left the agency name blank, as if a form letter hadn't been properly filled out. Some workers are notified their own bosses that they've been fired. Is there some wisdom in slowing down? Well, and being more scalpel-like.
I think American voters like the intensity and the focus that they've seen from 30-some days of this administration, going about doing the things they told the voters they were going to do, doing the things they were elected to do. What was the polling? I think I saw just recently, 70% of Americans think President Trump is doing what he said he was going to do. Imagine that. You ran for office, you put your name on the ballot, you said, I'm going to go do this. And one of the things he said he was going to do was get rid of the waste, fraud, and abuse and the stupid spending going on in the federal government. Instead of Democrats attacking the guy who's exposing the stupid spending, how about helping us get rid of the stupid spending? And most Americans say, yeah, that makes sense to me, particularly when they see some of the crazy things that their tax dollars were being used for. I always point to Sesame Street and Iraq, Bert and Ernie and Big Bird in Baghdad on Baghdad TV. Not really the best use of money when you look at the deficits we've been running and the debt that we've piled up.
Well, do you worry, though, that goodwill that the American people are like, yes, I need to know what's going on with...
I want to say thank you so much to everybody that's watching. If you don't mind clicking the thumbs up like button, we really appreciate your support.
My tax dollars, and no, I'm not okay with a lot of this stuff. federal workers haven't been the most empathetic characters for a lot of Americans, but now they're starting to hear their stories that entire offices are wiped out, people are crying, they're completely unnerved and have no idea how their agencies are going to run.
Shannon, I grabbed this headline, National Parks in Chaos after today's Washington Post story. Here's the first paragraph. California National Park, a Trump administration fired the only locksmith on staff. Next sentence, he was fired. He was the sole employee with keys and institutional knowledge needed to rescue visitors from locked restrooms. Now, if that isn't, I mean, that's the best you can do. The real question is, how do visitors get locked in restrooms? I mean, this is how ridiculous some of this thing is. So maybe there have been some mistakes made, but I think the intensity and the focus on getting rid of the wasteful spending, the one guy who can unlock people who somehow get locked in a restroom at a national park, this is ridiculous. So the arguments I think you're seeing from the left are pretty darn crazy when you think about, oh, we're spending money for the crazy things of trans comic opera and wherever. I mean, come on.
But do you worry that people, they're with you when they hear that, but then when they start to see things like Elon Musk putting out a tweet saying everyone's getting an email and you got to respond with 5 things you got done last week, copy your manager, or we're going to count, if you don't respond, we're going to count that as a resignation. That's probably not legal in the first place. But do you worry about losing the momentum?
You can name the 5 things you did last week. I was in Israel last week. I know we met with the prime minister. We met with some of the opposition. We met with the speaker of the Knesset. We toured the kibbutzim where the terrible things happened in Rose, where the Bibas kids were taken and killed. I mean, we went up to the north and saw what Hezbollah. I mean, we had all kinds of. I can name 5 things I did, not to mention other things I did relative to things back here with our responsibilities as a member of Congress. So anyone can name 5, but if you're some federal worker working remote, you should be able to name those things too. So I don't think that's a big deal. But you know, people are saying, oh, you shouldn't do those kind of things. You can name the 5 things you were.
I can.
I'm sure.
I can, but I'm not a federal worker, and I don't know who's going to feed through all of those responses. Maybe it's the manager who's copied. I don't know, but I wonder how many people. That's probably just another round of lawsuits because we have already got about 80 that we're tracking with regards to recent policy. I want to make sure that we get to foreign policy with you as well, though, as we're waiting for negotiations.
Guys, I'm sorry, but I really dislike it whenever a Fox News host actually defends. Whenever Elon and them just say, tell us 5 things that you did last week, and then she's defending, well, I can tell you what I did last week, but that's a federal worker. What does it matter? The average federal worker makes $93,000 a year. That is $33,000 higher than the national average for the private sector. And they get more time off, more paid benefits, and more, just vacation time. A ton of benefits. But this is how, guys, we got to call this stuff out. Even whenever it's on Fox, you should be able to say what you did last week, 5 things. Let me know your comments.
To come together on this rare earth minerals deal. You heard your colleague, Congressman Himes, saying it feels like, some kind of mafia situation, like we're extorting people to try to get them to come to the table and agree to what we want them to agree to. Reuters has this. They say U.S. negotiators pressing key for access to Ukraine's critical minerals have raised the possibility of cutting the country's access to Elon Musk's vital Starlink satellite system. They go on to say it provides crucial internet connectivity to war-torn Ukraine and its military. Is that something that we should be threatening?
Well, look, I don't know if that's the case. What I do know is President Trump has been clear. He wants to end the war. He wants to stop the killing. President Trump has, I think, a unique way of negotiating, and it's a way that typically gets results. And you can look at the situation with Canada and Mexico and what he threatened, and then how they suddenly decided, well, Shazam, we're going to help you with securing the border. You can look at Israel in his first term. He campaigned on putting the embassy in Jerusalem. And when he gets in office, all the people at the State Department, they think they're smarter than you and I and all the people across this country, all those people at the State Department said, President, you really shouldn't do that. Because that's what every other president had done when they campaigned on. President Trump said, I told the American people I was going to do it. We're going to do it, and he did. And I would argue that laid the foundation for the Abraham Accords and all he got accomplished with Israel and in the Middle East. So I think he doesn't always operate in the most conventional way when it comes to negotiating. But the results speak for themselves, and he understands the billions of dollars taxpayers have given to Ukraine. And by the way, what's the goal been? What was our objective all along? Was it to get them out of the eastern, drive Russia out of the eastern region of Ukraine? Was it to get back Crimea? Do you know how long Russia's had Crimea? 14 years, or excuse me, 11 years ago, next month it'll be 11 years that they took it under Obama. Well, is that the goal? No one could ever define the goal, but money just kept flowing. And President Trump says this has to end, and he's working on doing that and doing it in a way that I think is beneficial to Ukraine and certainly beneficial to the American taxpayer.
Okay, a quick question on money flowing, but here domestically, because you guys got to get together on this budget deal.
Yeah.
The New York Times reports on the House version, the budget that Speaker Johnson has negotiated for the next decade calls for around $880 billion in cuts to Medicaid. That's in an effort to counterbalance a portion of the tax cuts. That scares people when they hear that. Where do we get $880 billion out of Medicaid?
Just, the focus has been clear. The president's been clear. Waste, fraud, and abuse we're going to look at.
Is there enough of that to cover $880 billion?
Well, we're going to look to find that. I do think we're not looking to make cuts to Medicaid. But certainly work requirements are something that I don't view as cuts. Work requirements are just common sense.
Yep.
You're an able-bodied adult and you're getting a benefit from the government. There should be some requirement that you do work or volunteer work or something. We have that in other parts of our government payment systems where people are getting aid from the taxpayer. I think that makes sense. So look, our plan is pretty basic. Cut taxes, cut some spending, help the national defense, and secure the border. Exactly what we told the voters we were going to do. That's what's in our plan. The budget resolution will allow us to accomplish that. I hope it's going to pass this week.
The math is going to be tough.
Guys, let me tell you this. They're going to cut, and it's not going to be pretty. This is the thing. It's not going to be pretty, but it needs to happen. We got a bloated government, guys. And we also got bloated TV networks with horrible hosts like Joy Reid. But look at this, guys. Joy Reid's MSNBC show canceled in a major shakeup. Why? Because MSNBC ain't got no views. And they know that if they don't change something, they're going to be completely out of business. And this finally is happening. As many times as she has gone after Trump and said things that were completely false and untrue, it's like people don't care anymore. They're like, look, stop gaslighting us. All the stuff that you talked about, all the stuff that you said was all wrong. And again, too, when we look at, guys, pictures are worth 1,000 words. And whenever, I show you a lot of this stuff, this is what we were gaslit about. This is just one of the things. Remember, Kid Rock posted this. Do you remember when we didn't have $5 billion to build the wall, to try to secure the border, try to keep people out? Yet now we have $700 billion to give to other countries. In case you haven't figured it out, this is money laundering 101. This is why they are going crazy. This is why people are quitting. This is why top officials are resigning from the federal government. Why? Because they know they got to get lawyered up. They got to start figuring out what the heck they're going to do because they were part of a malicious, deceptive crime within the government. And guys, people took advantage of it. 100% took advantage of our taxpayer dollars. And now that they're going to be held accountable, especially by this person I'm about to show you, we're about to see the truth. Check this out.
The most unique path to her current role. From presidential candidate to disillusioned Democrat, and now one of our nation's staunchest defenders during President Trump's second term. She's bold and strong and won't let anything stand in her way. But I'll let her tell you herself. Well, the official director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, it's sort of amazing. If you look back 5 years ago, you ran for president as a Democrat.
Yeah.
Could you ever have pictured that you would right now be sitting as part of Donald Trump's administration?
It's not something that I pictured back then. And quite frankly, it wasn't something that I pictured even a few months ago. It's been an incredible experience for me to just be a small part of helping President Trump get elected and to now be in a position to help carry out his mandate, to end that weaponization and politicization of our intelligence community, of our law enforcement. It's a privilege.
You are a person who can speak to that to a certain extent. You are also the first female combat veteran to be director of national intelligence. How does your past experience help you in this role, and what are you taking from what you've done in the past and utilizing it now?
Shortly after criticizing Vice President Kamala Harris, who had just become candidate Kamala Harris after President Biden stepped aside, I was very quickly placed on this little-known domestic terror watch list called Quiet Skies. There's a long story I can tell you there about what that entailed with surveillance and federal air marshals being tasked with an active targeting package. It really speaks to how these institutions that exist to ensure the safety, security, and freedom of the American people being weaponized against the American people actually creates a greater national security risk. When we, the American people, cannot trust those who have the responsibility to keep us safe.
There is a fine line, though, because I think people wonder, how can you ensure the safety of the American people but also protect their privacy and from government intrusion?
It is a heavy responsibility, and it is the most essential one. For too long, as you know, we've seen people in positions of great power tell us that, oh, well, you know, if we just violate your civil liberties and freedom a little bit, it's okay because we're trying to keep you safe. Unfortunately, you know, we've seen this for decades, and the more our freedoms are eroded, the more the foundations of our democracy are eroded. So, you know, a lot of people will talk about national security or security threats, but there's two components of that leaders have to really uphold, which is, yes, there's such a thing as a threat to physical security, but the threat to our freedom and our liberty must be balanced right alongside that threat to our physical security.
Just to go back a moment.
Guys, just want to say thank you so much for your support. Welcome to the family, Patty Razor. Y'all show Patty some love in the chat. And if you don't mind clicking the thumbs up like button, guys, thank you so much for your support.
Went to your previous life as a Democrat, you had a very famous sort of viral moment in a presidential debate against Kamala Harris, where you kind of called her out.
Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California, and she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
I think a lot of people look at that moment and they say, is that the moment that Tulsi Gabbard started to maybe change her view on things? Was that part of your political conversion, that moment?
That whole experience of running for president in the Democratic primary in 2020 that really exposed the Democrat Party's focus on things that did not matter to the American people. I go back to 2016 when President Trump was elected, and how very quickly the Democrat Party leadership, the party that I once joined that fought for free speech, that stood up for civil liberties, a party that had many voices who called for peace instead of war, they very quickly flipped the script because now all they cared about was defeating Donald Trump and silencing those who supported him. And so the erosion, you know, the shift in the Democratic Party ultimately made it so that I had to leave the Democrat Party. It was completely unrecognizable from the party that I had joined over 20 years before.
I think a lot of people watched that whole process and they said, these people have learned nothing. They are ranting and raving out there about transparency, about saving taxpayer dollars, about the American people actually understanding what is going on.
I was with President Trump when I was sworn in the Oval Office, and something that he said that day really struck home, because he talked about needing to have people in our government who care. And so when I asked myself, how is it that the Democrat Party still hasn't heard the voices of the American people who are sick and tired of our taxpayer dollars being wasted?
As it turns out, some of those taxpayer dollars are already being saved under Tulsi's tenure.
So you were confirmed, and then 6 o'clock the next morning, you're on an airplane, and it's been a rapid pace. Has there been anything that surprised you that you didn't expect so far? I mean, is Doge involved in what you're doing?
The ODNI itself is a pretty small organization compared to most other elements. But even in that small organization, getting rid of DEI saved American taxpayers roughly $20 million. Wow. Literally with the stroke of President Trump's pen. Just in my...
Guys, let me tell you this. It's $20 million here. It's $20 million there. It all adds up. Guys, when it comes to the spending of the United States taxpayer like our tax dollars, it all adds up. This is NATO's defense spending breaking down. Guys, look at this, guys. Is this not insane? How much spending we do compared to everybody else? And everybody else always expects us to pay for everything, protect everybody, do everything that needs to be done. Thank you so much, Mr. Norby, for the super chat. Let's go. He said, thank you for all being here. If the truth is what you can handle, this is the place for us all. Thanks, True Life News Family Funhouse. Show the support and a small donation. Hey, thank you so much, Mr. Norby. Appreciate you, brother. Y'all show Mr. Norby some love in the chat. Guys, this is where it matters. Because again, too, it's always going back to the money. Follow the money. Where's our money going? A lot of them, guys, listen to this. A lot of them have been abusing our money like so much. It is mind-blowing. Listen to this.
Democrats and their allies in the deep state bureaucracies have been with their tax dollars. They have funneled this mass implosion of illegal immigrants into our country. They've housed them. They've provided free health care. And at the end of the day, I think you're going to see a lot of tax dollars were laundered into programs like this.
Sounds a lot like money laundering.
Absolutely.
To me. So, Alina, when it comes to these NGOs, there's been a lot of lawsuits that are filed by leftist groups to try and get judges involved in stopping the taking away of the funding, or even giving Doge and Elon Musk and his team, who's a special government employee, much like Anita Dunn was under Joe Biden and others in previous administrations, to keep that kind of funding. But it does seem like there is a lot of corruption, not just maybe something that got lost in terms of going to the wrong place.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's very clear. You don't have to be a rocket scientist. When you have a line item of trillions of dollars that does not get traced to anyone or anything but entities that are run by family members of bureaucrats, that's a problem. You don't have to be a lawyer to know that ain't good. Yeah. And the end of the day, look, even yesterday, they tried to file these restraining orders. There was a bunch of individuals that said, oh, we're being hurt by this, and it was denied. And that was actually by a very liberal judge in D.C. Who sat on a lot of the January 6th issues for President Trump and other people. Look, at the end of, this is what I can say. We have been, I think there's 70 lawsuits that have been filed. And I was speaking to Elon and I said, you should put in Times Square a ticker. It'll say on the top how much money you're saving. And then on the bottom, we're going to put one about how many lawsuits get filed. One will go up, one will go down very quickly. But they do that when we're winning and when we're hitting them where it hurts. So desperate times call for desperate measures. You see all these AGs and DAs trying to come in. You see individuals, but they're not winning. And the only people that are winning right now are American people.
Right. The taxpayer.
We are winning.
Yes. It happens to be tax season, so everybody's filing their taxes, going, if I don't pay the correct amount or miss a couple cents, they'll threaten to throw me in prison. And now's a great time.
Well, don't worry, we're firing a bunch of the IRS today, so don't worry.
That's
great. But that was the stuff that they did, and America didn't like it.
Yeah.
You're funneling people to audit and hurt the American people. Why don't we audit the people that are hurting us?
Exactly.
It's not supposed to go the other way. We're not supposed to hurt each other.
Yeah.
And that's really the mission, and President Trump said just yesterday, I was with him and he was speaking at an economic forum, and he said, look, we hope to take 20% of what Doge has recovered, that is billions and billions of dollars, and put that money back to the American people who were hurt by the last administration, who can't buy eggs because they went off and killed all the chickens. But, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And we have to get back to common sense.
So, Congressman, how can Republicans on Capitol Hill, with their slim majority, work to codify these Doge cuts into law? Because you keep hearing people saying, well, Congress has to decide because they hold the purse strings. So now you guys have lots of examples inside a lot of these agencies about where these things that have been approved through Congress are going. How do you make sure it's not just, we see it, it's a problem, but we're going to keep going?
The first step is to pass my bill and Mike Lee's bill that expedites this and will allow Congress to codify all the executive orders. Secondly, we've got to follow this up with a budget, with President Trump's budget proposal. We've got to cut spending. We've got to ensure that the tax cuts are renewed. This budget reconciliation bill is huge, and the reason this needs to be a very large bill is because this is the only vehicle that you can pass through the Senate that only takes 51 votes. If we have to depend on Democrats, we might get Fetterman, and that's it. We're still going to be 6 votes short.
Still a long shot.
Yeah, that's a long shot. I wouldn't want to hold my breath on that. But we've got to do it on this reconciliation bill. We've got to renew the tax cuts. We've got to put in the tax cuts that President Trump promised, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and put this whole agenda in.
No tax on Social
cut the
Security.
bureaucracy and watch America grow. Watch this country take off. Once you get the government off the backs of the private sector, the entrepreneurial spirit in America will flourish. Americans will prosper, and I think Americans will start to regain a little confidence in their government again, all because of President Trump's mandate and because of the work that everyone in this room did to get President Trump elected.
And deregulation, of course, is a big one. The president has promised for every new regulation, they will eliminate 10 of them. We only have a few minutes left. Alina, you're new to Washington, D.C., new to the world of politics. Final thoughts about the next 4 years here and your new gig?
First of all, it's so exciting. I never thought I would live in the swamp that I hit on TV every day, but here we are. And I knew he was going to win. I wasn't sure if I was going to come, but I'm glad I did. I mean, it is such a blessing to be in the West Wing with the greatest president that I've ever seen in my lifetime. In the past, I mean, it is the greatest joy. And having been there with him through the fight to get here, I think is why we fight so hard. I go to work every day. It is a blessing. I fight for the American people every day now. And I had been started fighting for President Trump, but now it's for all of you. And it's an honor. I mean, I've gotten to do things like child trafficking issues, and I'm speaking to the Middle East. And you have a platform to help not just America be strong, but help the world be peaceful and great. And it's really America's strength that runs that. And I'm excited. It's been a real blessing, and God's given me a real chance to do some change with President Trump. I'm excited.
Congressman Comer, what's next? I know that you guys have a lot. You mentioned the Sanctuary City hearing on March 5th. People can tune in for that. But final thoughts from you about where we're going here as Republicans control the government.
Well, we've got to stick together. I'm seeing more coordination between the House and the Senate than I've seen in the 8 years that I've been in Congress. This is because we have a strong president. We have a strong president that's put in disruptors. The members of Congress that don't like that love the status quo, they went back home during Christmas break. They went back home after the first weekend when Trump started making his proposals and putting his people in place, and they heard from their constituents. And the American people support President Trump's agenda. And I think Congress understands that. I think even the members that we sometimes get frustrated with in the House and the Senate, I think everybody's on board. The president's popular, and the people have delivered a message. So hopefully we're going to be able to pass his agenda. And I think that the savings that Doge is finding, it's just ironic that the Democrats are exposing their true colors. They are obsessed with Elon Musk. They have lost their mind over Elon Musk. That is the hill they've chosen to die on, to protect the bureaucracy when the Republicans, being led by President Trump, want to end the bureaucracy. So I think we're going to get a lot done, and it's all because of President Trump.
Yeah, they're destroying their infrastructure, and they're very afraid about what their political future looks like.
Guys, I love it. Thank you so much, Patty Razor, for gifting One True Life News membership. Let's go. Y'all show Patty some love in the chat, as well as Camp Goer 1, who said, we the people need to support the truth and pray the people who have not woken up yet to the truth, yet will do so. Let's go. Hey, y'all show Camp Goer 1 some love in the chat. If you don't mind clicking the thumbs up like button, guys, thank you so much for your support. Guys, I wanted to show you this because we have, I mean, they're already doing the polls. I know we still got 4 years to the next election, but let me know your thoughts on where the numbers are at, guys, because some of these names, I'm just like, wait, what? Listen to this.
Looked at that straw poll. Nikki Haley, way At the bottom.
Yeah.
Well, almost at the bottom. What is that, 1%?
1%. Wow.
Yeah, that's actually pretty good for her. But there's only one person that would score lower than that, and that would be Liz Cheney.
Yeah, I would say zero for Liz Cheney.
There's like zero constituency for Liz Cheney.
I wonder if they put her on the list. She just made zero. They should. They should put her on the list.
Actually, I kind of like that idea.
But that list, the fact that you have J.D. Vance, 61%, and the second, Steve Bannon. Donald Trump truly has remade this
completely.
Party. This is a new party. Everyone who was, part of that old guard, bye-bye.
Yep, bye-bye.
Guys, this is such a crazy list because, again, too, it's not your normal people. It's not your normal ones now. Nikki Haley at the bottom, yes. But Tulsi Gabbard, Trump Jr., Elise Stefanik, Marco Rubio, he's kind of the older one, but Ron DeSantis, Steve Bannon, like, holy moly. Let me know, who do you support, guys? And again, too, guys, we got to bring in the big man himself because I love it. This guy is not afraid to say anything right now. And again, he shouldn't be. He's just calling out the facts. Listen to this.
$1 billion. The United States has given $350 billion because we had a stupid, incompetent president and administration. 350. But here's worse. Europe gave it in the form of a loan. They get their money back. We gave it in the form of nothing. So I want them to give us something for all of the money that we put up. And I'm going to try and get the war settled, and I'm going to try and get all that death ended.
Yes.
So we're asking for rare earth and oil, anything we can get. But we feel so stupid. Here's Europe. And it affects Europe. It doesn't really affect us, except we don't like to see two things. Number one, how Biden got us into this thing in the first place. Terrible. But why is it that he didn't ask for equalization? Europe should put up more money than us. But even if you said the same thing, how come we went so far out front? And he didn't know that Europe gets his money back. They did it in the form of a loan. We don't get our money back. We get nothing. So we're getting our money back. We're going to get our money back because it's not fair. It's just not fair. And we will see. But I think we're pretty close to a deal, and we better be close to a deal. And a foreign aid freeze we're giving to countries that hate us. We're giving billions and billions of dollars to countries that hate us. And I signed an order creating the Department of Government Efficiency. You probably haven't heard of it, which is now waging war on government waste, fraud, and abuse. And Elon is doing a great job.
Let's go.
He's doing a great job. We love Elon, don't we? It's that guy. He's a character. with his son X. We love X. He's the only one can get away. His son's really named X. He's the only one can get away with naming his son X.
He said his son's really named X.
We haven't did it this age. You're crazy. But he's great. He's doing a great job, and he doesn't need this either. He doesn't need it, but he wants to see. He's a patriot. People said, well, what official position does he have? I said, patriot. Oh, they didn't know. They said, that was good. He's a patriot. Here are some of the flagrant scams that, as an example, they've spent money on and we've been able to recapture for a large dose of it at least. $520 million for a consultant to, think of it, $520 million. $520 million. When I hire consultants and they just take advantage of me, it's a horrible thing to watch. And I give them $25,000. I feel I'm overpaying. These guys got $520 million. Environmental, social, governance, and investments in Africa. $25 million to promote biodiversity, conservation, and socially responsible behavior in Colombia. This is Columbia, South America, not Columbia University. Of course, that might be worse, actually.
Guys, I'm telling you what, just want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. And if you don't mind, clicking the thumbs up like button, guys. And also, don't forget, in the description, we have the link to go join and subscribe our new channel called TrueLife Breaking News, where we're going to focus on short form content, things, because there's a lot of content, guys, out there. We want to get you as much great breaking news as much as possible. So please go help us join that. Our goal is let's get to 1,000 subscribers, guys, this week. I know we can do it. The link is in this description to go to that channel and subscribe. Appreciate your support. And again, thank you to everybody that supports us by being a member of this channel, as well as giving a super chat donation, guys. I got to give some love to Angela Rourke for joining the channel, Patty Razor, Mr. Tracy J. Norby, Camp Goer 1. Guys, y'all show them some love in the chat. We're here to serve you. Remember, Monday through Friday, 2 shows a day, 1 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday. We couldn't do this without you. And we're just super happy that we're getting an America First agenda, and we're continuously being able to clean up and limit government. We love you, appreciate you, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.